Times were tough, so I sold my soul. And I don't think I'll ever regain control. Devil looked me in the eye, now I look the other way. What else could I do? I just stared at the doorway, knew I'd rather be drunk with you.
Hey Internet, Dracofunk here, and welcome back to my Reusable Space Program Season 2, Episode 6. And this is going to be an episode where we get everything ready to send this mining craft to Duna. And the first thing we're going to do is fly it to the Mun. And the reason being is it needs to be completely refueled. And to do that, it's going to take 2 landing missions to make fuel from the surface of the Mun, and then it's going to, we need to transfer the station core because this is going to pull that to Duna Orbit. So there's going to be a lot going on. So here we are, it's arriving into orbit of the Mun. It's going to go ahead and rendezvous with Columbia Station and dock there. And there it will wait to be refueled. Before it can fully be refueled, the mining ship in orbit, or currently docked at Columbia Station, is going to have to land and do a mining run, and then this ship will land and do a mining run, and after that, that should be enough fuel for it to make its way to Duna. So here it is, it's already rendezvoused with Columbia Station. I know I said I was going to try and do less fade cuts and splits, but I had a lot to do for this episode. This is almost 10 hours of maneuvers and fuel transfers that I tried to cut down to 20 minutes, and I failed because there was just so much going on that this is 34 minutes or so. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and dock this on one of these fuel containers, probably on the end of the pug unit, because I'm not going to need that for the time being. At least not for any of these maneuvers. You see the Canterbury's on the opposite side. There's the Liberator on the end of the station. The SUV, I believe that's the Jimmy. Just a little bit of a bounce off of that little RCS tug. And once it's docked, I think the next thing I'll do is, well, I'll do a little bit of fuel transfers. I'm going to cut that out. And the next thing we'll do is land the other mining ship, because it doesn't have enough fuel to do its own mining mission. Actually, we're going to send the Canterbury back to Kerbin and rendezvous with Enterprise Station. It has a fully loaded tank of fuel to take back to LKO, Low Kerbin Orbit. And when it returns, it'll bring the station core with it. Just doing a little bit of time acceleration, getting set for the maneuver. I really like the in-cockpit view of the tanker. It's one of my favorite things. I just wish this design worked out a little bit better. It just turned out not to be great. The only thing it's really, I mean, it's an efficient craft. It's just it's not as efficient as it could be. So I'm just going to fade out through all the getting into curb and orbit, rendezvousing with the station, and here it is. It's coming into dock. It's opposite of the Manly. I need to land the crew of the Manly. I'm going to send up the SSTO probably next episode, just so they have a little bit of a respite. And I will send the next crew up eventually. I do need to refuel the Manly, but that'll take just a little bit of time. I also need to refuel the interplanetary tug. But now that's here, I'm going to use the Ares craft to go fetch the station core. And that will be able to just plop it right on the end of the Canterbury tanker, and then it will be on its way. And there you can see the Ares craft with only one solar panel because one broke off, with the upside down Highway 47 logo. And right now its main mission is to rendezvous with the station core. So I'm actually recording this the day this should come out. I'm running a little bit behind. For some reason, it took a very, very long time to render. Normally, for a 30-minute video, it will take somewhere around 15 to 20 minutes to render. This one took over an hour. Otherwise, I would have had the commentary done, and then I'm going to have to render this again and then do the upload. So this isn't going to come out quite on time. I mean, it's going to come out probably an hour and a half late. But that's okay. So there's the station core. Now, I make a mistake here. The station core, it's a little bit bigger than some of my other station cores, just because this is going to have to be, for a little while, all we have in orbit of Duna. And my mistake is I should have offset the engines of the Ares craft when I docked, and I didn't do it. And I'm actually going to damage the station core a little bit because of it, and have to undock and redock and fix it. But as I said in previous episodes, if something goes wrong and it's my fault, I'm just going to leave it in. Now, so yeah, right here, as I'm burning, see the engine exhaust is... Oh, did I show it? Now I'm having trouble docking, and I got a little bit of an oscillation going. This is sped up 4 times. I didn't really realize how much of an oscillation I had going. So, no, it hasn't happened yet. So I redocked again. This time I have vertically, which isn't going to be any better. So I think it's right here. I don't know why I thought this would be better. Just having a hard time right there. So I blew off one of the RCS thrusters. And this is where I realized I needed to offset the engines. Alright, now it's all docked. Yeah, so the station is going to be short one RCS thruster. It won't hurt it terribly too much, but it is a little bit annoying. But I'm not going to go ahead and launch a whole new station core at this point. And it is a little bit hard to control. So if you're doing this, make sure that your engine exhaust isn't touching anything from the spacecraft you're towing. And I knew better, but I'm guessing I was just really, really tired. And I actually recorded this over several days because there was a lot of stuff I had to do just to even get here. And this isn't even, at the end of this episode, I'm still not flying to Duna yet. So all we're trying to do right now is rendezvous with Enterprise Station so I can put the station core on the back of the Canterbury, and then the Canterbury will, at this point, it's already offloaded its fuel and will fly to the button. So matching velocities. Setting up its intercept. Now I'm just trying to get it heading in the correct direction so I can head towards the docking. Again, this is all sped up footage. This took me a lot longer than it is here. I'm using time acceleration to kind of cut down on the time. Otherwise, this would really have taken forever. And I'm trying to be a little bit more careful on the orientation of the station core when I put it on the back of the Canterbury. I was a little bit concerned with how much fuel the Canterbury would have because I know it has enough fuel to fly from... Basically, I fill up all the side tanks when I'm at Columbia Station, and that gives it enough fuel to take a full tanker load to Enterprise Station and fly back to the Mun and dock with the station. But I usually don't carry anything extra. And now it has the weight of the whole station core, which is going to affect its delta V. But I didn't really have a way of testing how much that would affect it. So we'll find out shortly. The only thing left to do is to redock the Ares craft on the bottom of Enterprise Station next to the original mining craft and the space bus. Just a little bit of fuel transfer to make sure everybody has plenty of fuel. So I have basically all the operations for Kerbin Orbit are all set up for all the fuel transfers. I had a weird thing going on. We're back at the mountain station. This is Columbia Station, where some of those fuel indicator screens were not disappearing. I finally did get them off, though. I'm really not sure why. So this is the big mining ship that is stationed at Columbia Station. And it's going to go do a full mining run where it lands on the surface of the moon, or Mun. It mines ore, converts it into fuel till all the tanks are full, and then launches and flies back to Columbia Station, where it will put all its reserve fuel in the reserve tanks there, plus fuel the other big mining ship that's going to go to Duna. And I'm just making the landing on the surface of the moon. I've done this so many times now. It's really just become something of routine. So when I land this craft, I only use the fuel from the top of the fuel tanks. The orange tanks are empty. The side liquid fuel tanks are empty. The ore tank's empty. And I only leave about 200 or so units of monopropellant in there. I could probably land with less monopropellant. And luckily, I'm on a fairly flat part of the surface. So now I'm going to go whole. I'm just going to skip over all of the mining because that takes a lot of time, even with time acceleration. So there, as you can see, all the tanks are full. Even the ore is full because while the ore is really heavy and it does cut down on my delta V, I will bring up a full tank of ore and leave it in orbit on the station. Eventually, usually what I end up doing is once I have the station is full of ore, I'll do one more run. So every third run, I will convert all of that ore to monopropellant. Because the one thing this craft doesn't have is extra storage for monopropellant. And maybe I should fix that, but it's too late now. Maybe on the next generation. So this is the Duna bound mining ship. It's going to also do a mining run, except this time all the fuel it gathers will stay on board, except The liquid oxygen tanks, I'm going to make sure those are empty because I don't want to bring that fuel to Duna just because it's just going to be extra weight. So coming in for another landing, it seems like I have some flat, at least mostly flat ground to land on. So when doing the mining operations, you're really looking for well, anytime you're landing on the Mun, you really want to find a level surface to land on. Otherwise, you end up sliding down or worse yet, rolling over and damaging something. Came down a little bit faster than I meant to. And I'll do the same thing again, just bring out the radiators, the solar panels, the drill, and as you can see, once again, all the tanks are full. And I'm just going to fly up and head back to Columbia Station. And I'm trying to do a launch to rendezvous, and I thought I was really close until I realized that the planes were not aligned at all. Columbia Station's in about a 30-kilometer orbit. I really wish I would have put it in a little bit higher orbit, but I'm not going to fix it now. So I'm just going to fly up to about 50 kilometers, and I'll do all the orbital rendezvous maneuvers from there. And I'm just going to transfer all the liquid fuel out of those side tanks just so that they're all gone. And I will not refill those tanks again until I'm in the Duna system. And now I'll just use the rendezvous planner to get my maneuver nodes to rendezvous with Columbia Station. All right. I probably could have cut this part out of the video, but I didn't. And, sometimes it's good to see. So I use the rendezvous planner to get my maneuvers, and then I do all the flying. And here we are at Columbia Station already. Now, I'm not sure why you see the radiators extended for the other mining craft are kind of glowing red. I am not sure why. Usually when I launch up back to the station, everything's kind of cooled down. I know the fuel converting units can get hot, but for some reason that spacecraft right now is really hot. And it's from the fuel converting unit. So I'm gonna, once I get this docked, I'll actually bring out the radiators on this craft too to help get that cool down. Yeah, see there, I'm even getting, so I close it and then I have a hotkey that brings out the radiators. So all 8 radiators right now are really, really hot. I'm just checking, and the temperature was really high, but it is going down, so I'm not too worried. Only slightly worried. The original mining ship with Marnie and Tamji that was stationed around Columbia Station did overheat and explode very unexpectedly and very quickly. And I did have the radiators out when it happened. So I am a little bit worried about that. But it was fine. So this is back at Enterprise Station, and there's the Canterbury. It's going to make its way back to Columbia Station. And you can see that I have the station core situated so the engine plumes really aren't affecting it. And I started with about 2200 Delta V, which should be plenty to get me to the Mun and rendezvous with Columbia Station. And in fact, I'm already there. So I'm just going to go ahead and dock it opposite of the mining ship back where it was originally, only this time now the station core is there. This looks a lot more violent than it did when it wasn't sped up. The Canterbury is a little bit awkward to dock just because it's kind of large, and I did not really get the RCS perfectly balanced, but that's okay. So there is a little bit of extra oxidizer there. I'll just transfer a little bit of fuel around. Because I got to make sure, now that everything is here at Columbia Station, I have to make sure the Canterbury side tanks are all completely full, both sides. And then I will fill that orange tank with fuel and oxidizer. Just looking where I have fuel. So this is what I spend a lot of my time on, is just transferring fuel between craft. And there's really no that I hope in Kerbal Space Program 2 the fuel transfer system is a little bit more streamlined. And before the Canterbury goes back to Enterprise Station, I'll have to do another mining run. But before I can do that, I'm going to use the big mining ship that's stationed at Columbia to move the station core and put it back on the Duna-bound big mining ship. So I'm just trying to visually line up the docking ports. I used to have a great mod that gave a docking cam, and I've looked. There are docking helper mods, but nothing like the old docking cam that I used to have. I used to really like that mod. I can't remember who made it, but it's not compatible with this version of Kerbal Space Program. And the other docking helper mods I've seen are just kind of crosshairs, and they're not really that much help to me than just using the nav bar. Actually, I would get confused with which way it wanted me to go, and I found just using the nav bar generally helps. Maybe if I was better at it, I'd probably be able to use it better, but I just really miss the old docking cam mod. Okay, I have a cat here who would like to say hi. I don't know why he's being so whiny. And there he goes, because that's what a cat is. They have very short attention spans. So I have... Once I have the docking ports lined up on the nav ball, I'm just going to watch my orientation to make sure that the engine plumes don't interfere with the station core. And now it's all docked up. And the only thing left to do is for the Columbia's big mining craft to land back on the surface of the Mun, and it will do another mining run, but that probably will happen off screen because the main goal of the next episode will be to get that mining craft with the station core in orbit of Duna. Here I'm just looking for a nice place to land. I was going to, once I get down to periapsis, usually I will try and land there if I have a good spot. If I don't, I'll try and circularize the orbit, but I kind of missed it. But here I am. I was going to circularize, but there was this looks like a nice landing spot as long as I can get between those craters. You don't want to land right next to or in a crater. I mean, you can land in a crater as long as you can get kind of down the center, but you don't want to be on the side. That's bad news. But hey, we're coming in for a landing. And also, this week I'm doing it. So if you saw the 60 subscriber special where I drove the rover train to the North Pole, I said if we reached 100 subscribers by the end of the year, I would drive the rover train to the South Pole. And I did start setting it up, and it's taken me a little while to get to it. I ended up a little bit busier in January than I meant to, but I'm doing it. So this Wednesday, look for the first episode of that. And next week, we will take the big mining craft, as you can see right there with the station core, and attempt to get it into orbit of Duna. Thanks, guys. Like and subscribe. We have a Patreon, too, if you feel like. And I'll see you next time.